Morning to you all. Welcome to the longest running daily variety show, The Mark and Pires Show. We got a special show for you today, a couple news stories, and one that I'm really intrigued about, which is this concept of locations on planet Earth, they call them blue zones, where you could actually go and have your best chance to live 100 years. Now, with all the disease and ailments in the world today, to know that there are 5 locations, I think it's 5, that you could go in order to have a healthier lifestyle and live the longest potential life, that has me intrigued. I'm starting to wonder why we all aren't flocking to these locations. I thought it would be kind of cool today is if we go over this blue zone idea, if there's science behind it. We're going to read the news, the story on it. And as you know, if you do tune into my program, I give you the full report. This isn't just, glazing over it. I read the entire story for you. So we're going to get into what are blue zones and how do we, if we can't get to a blue zone, how do we somehow get ourselves there mentally so we can somehow get the benefits of this. I don't know if it's the food, if it's the air, or what it is about these locations. It could be the energy. There is energy around us at all times that we could see or we could feel, but we can't see any of it. And sometimes you can't even feel how you're being affected by those energies. So these 5 locations, the blue zones on planet Earth, is there something with the energy that is coming out in a positive way with a healing energy, similar to when I play music for you at 432 hertz? I like to draw the attention towards the fact that I tune all of my instruments to 432. You should know when you listen to musicians, they don't do that. They're all playing 440. Almost every single musician you ever hear play will be playing 440 at you, and 440 is not pleasing to human beings. You may think the song sounds good, but there's some sort of chaos going on within you when you hear 440 hertz. It was a worldwide, I don't even know how the Germans or the Nazis were able to institute 440 on a worldwide basis, but really it used to be 432. There used to be many different tunings over the years, but I have settled on 432. I happen to be the inventor of the only drum in the world for guitar players. I say only because I have the patent for it. Nobody else could create the drum for guitar players. I already did it, and I went through a 5-year process to get a patent for this drum. So what I can say is when I play this drum for you guys, I feel healing energy coming out of me. The creativity is palpable. Last night we wrote another amazing song, and it only happens because we separate ourselves from this world for a few minutes every day. So I implore you, if you found me for the first time, or if you know the show, share it. If this is the first time you found me, subscribe, turn on all notifications. I've been here for 5 years in a row every single day. This is the longest running show on the planet. And I now determined that I was canceled about 4.5 years ago, and I just kept showing up every day trying to make the world a better place. They've been impossible to allow my message out to anybody. So you sharing my messages, it's the only way it's going to get to other people. We have Matt Zabrowski here. He's our woohoo guy. He's about to lift us up a level. Woohoo! Right? You guys, you can't do better than a woohoo, especially at 9:50 in the morning. So the blue zones. Let's get into this story. I want to get right into it today. I want to make sure we're action-packed with the content here on the Mark and Pires Show. You're going to show up here every morning and get inspired. You're going to get some news, and it's going to be real. And I may play a song for you. We may do some comedy. You never know. But the point is, this is an unscripted live variety show for the last 5 years in a row. Bubba News in the house. Modoc Roughstock with me on YouTube. I want to see who's with me on TikTok. Miles, how are you? Betty, how you doing? I got Tacos Travels kicking it with me, and Constant Comment 87. Tacos, I hope you'll check out all my content. I'm doing a new thing called Chasing History, where I'm going back through all of these ancient stories, like Sumerian tablets, and there's the, I think it's got the Bhagavad Gita or something like that in India. I never said it right. But I want to see if I could read all of these ancient texts live for you guys so we could start to understand our origin more than, what I have in my 1775 Bible here that says, from dirt, God made Adam and Eve. And I'd rather see what other stories there are out there so we can try to just get a better picture, an overall scope of how this world came to what we see today. It definitely didn't happen with a big bang. That's just ridiculous. So I want to know more about what the ancient people were saying. And the thing is, a lot of these stories are hidden from us because they're pretty crazy, like giants. And yeah, there were giants on Earth. I've seen photos that are now hidden. They have so many different bones at the National Archives, in the city they have them at, I can't think of the name right now. Wow, I'm having issues in the morning getting my brain moving. That's something that's real. But that's also because I've been double-deckering it lately. We do the morning show, and then I show up at night to play music for you. And some of those shows, they go until 12:30-ish. And then afterwards, I'm creating a thumbnail for this, and I'm getting my contacts together for the morning to make phone calls for expired listings. I'm a real estate agent, if you didn't know this. So what I do here is I show up to try to make this world a better place. But when I shut off the cameras and I go into my day, I'm real estate. Like that's it. I'm like real estate. I'll drop a piece of content here or there if I see a funny story or something and I have an in-between appointment moment. But outside of that, I'm focused 100% on real estate. So I would say is like, if you are ever looking for real estate, make sure you reach out to me. If you ever want to sell your real estate, reach out to me. It costs you nothing and I can give you some great advice. But outside of that, I want to provide you guys with some more of that information because for 15 years, I've been selling real estate. So I know not only what it's like to go through the process, but I understand the pitfalls. I understand the things you want to say in order to get transactions done. And I could also guide all of you when you're going through your own processes and I'm not involved. Take advantage of the fact that I got 15 years of real estate experience. I got another 13 years of construction experience besides that. So when I'm out there as a real estate agent, I'm actually thinking more like a builder than I am a real estate agent because if the more knowledge you have, the better you are. And the more value you have for your clients. And for me, when I walk into a property with my clients and they're interested in that property, and while we walk through, I can give them a full breakdown of what's in that house. The mechanicals, if the windows are in decent shape, the brand of the window. I can look at the years of the air handlers. I can look at the boiler and the hot water tank and see what exactly do you have here. So before you even bother putting an offer in, is this place worth your while? I can't tell you the amount of times over the years that I've seen agents in my office say, hey, Mark, can you come and take a look? My client wants to put an offer on this, but we don't know what is involved with the renovation. And we're really nervous about this, so we're not going to put an offer in until we can have a contractor through. You just lost the house, especially in a market like this. People got to move before you make decisions. This is a really important detail if you're in finance and you're getting into the real estate market to buy. Take these words and listen to them very, very closely. Finance is about doing your research up front and figuring out what the stocks are, what the moves are, and you do all your work before you invest. Real estate is the complete opposite. It's counterintuitive to people in finance because what you do with real estate is you act first and do your research later. And I know that sounds weird, but when you do your research after you act, you have this 7-day window that nobody realizes. These people think I'm putting an offer in now, I'm locked in, my money's now at risk. No. You have multiple contingencies when you put an offer in. The first one is your inspection contingency. So what we're doing with this inspection contingency is we're taking a fine-tooth comb out and a chisel, and you're digging to try to see if there's anything there that makes you want to walk away from the property. This is your get-out-of-jail-free card. That first 7 days where you're thinking to yourself, do I really want to buy this property? And so day one, you put your offer in, regardless of how you're feeling. If you're like, oh, I'm not sure about X, Y, or Z, you put your offer in, you get it accepted. That's your first move. Get it accepted. And then from that point, you have 7 days to do all of that research, to dig deep and figure out, is this the property for you? This is very counterintuitive, as I said, for buyers to do this when they're in finance or they're in a business where they do all their research up front. You need to understand real estate works the opposite. You have time to do your research. You just don't do it before you move because 50 other people are going to buy that property. You got to jump on it first. Once you have control, then you do your research. I've walked away from many properties with my clients. And I'm the first to tell them, look, I don't feel comfortable with the fact that you've got an oil tank over here and they're not willing to remove the oil tank, something like this. There are a few things that sellers have to have done before they could sell a property. It has to be safe. You can't sell a house with a leaky oil tank, with a septic system that's not functioning. That all has to be working when you sell a property. So when I have sellers who are like, well, I'm not going to fix that, I always tell them, before you kill this deal, just keep in mind, you're fixing that issue. because you have to be able to sell a safe house that someone can move into and live in. And you can't sell something like this with a septic tank that's not functioning, or, the house isn't running. It's not up and running. So there are situations where builders they'll buy properties like this. They don't really care. And then there's no issues. But when someone's going to move into a house, it has to be fully functional. It's not a raised situation where they're going to rip it down and put up a new property. So in general, guys, you have time is all I wanted to say. Make sure you get your offer and get that property accepted first and foremost. So that's my little real estate piece for the day. If you did tune in for the real estate, stick around. We're getting into the blue zones. This is a very interesting topic for me. And I'll tell you how this worked out. I had 3 different titles for today. The first one was about Michael Strahans' daughter getting cancer. And I started thinking how I'm very concerned with the amount of childhood cancer I'm seeing. And it's not just a few, it's a lot of cases. And those are just the ones we're seeing in the news, guys. One of my very good friends, I love my buddy, his daughter just passed away recently from neuroblastoma. And it blows my mind that we're dealing with things like this in 2024, and there's nothing that could be done. So my question that I was going to get into is why? Why are we seeing this overwhelming amount of childhood cancer in the world? I could point to a few things, and I'd ask your comments to come in, see what you think about it. But I do believe the cell phones and the AirPods and all these things that people are using, assuming that they are safe and effective. They are effective but not safe. Maybe they are, maybe they're not. But when you start looking at the data, when you start looking at the amount of cancer we're seeing, there's something more here. You can't just look away. When I was a kid, I remember the whole conversation was, do cell phones cause cancer? And there was this, obviously you have lobbyists who work for the cell phone companies that do not want you to ever come to that conclusion. So they fight and they throw money at everything in order to keep these topics off of your mind. People like me exist and show up every day in order to bring those to the surface, to make them feel a little bit more uncomfortable, but also so you guys could understand what we're up against. Now, so this is interesting. Blue zones. What is a blue zone? And how can we get to a blue zone? Probably have to have some dough in order to get the hell out of Dodge, is what I'd imagine. And so I had a second story, which is, do you want to live to 100? And this cancer surgeon says he has a formula. So maybe we should start with this, then we'll get to how I got to the blue zone. Because this is what intrigued me in the first place, and what I was going to do the news on this after I saw the Michael Strahan story. So this was my second news title of the day. And right here, want to live to 100? This cancer surgeon has the formula. And I thought, hey, that's a pretty cool topic for a show. So we got in here. Let me see what this has to say here. I'm going to see if I could just clean it up on OBS for you guys. Yeah, so you can see it a little better. There we go. There we go. So I want to say hi very quickly to Jerry Hayes. So good to see you. Green tea in the house. Bubba tea. Bubba news. Bubba tea is an actual thing, I think, now, guys. Bubble tea. I think it's bubble tea. And Modoc Roughstock, my friend. We are kicking it here YouTube style. If you guys on TikTok want to join and see the story, it's in the background right now. I use a green screen. Real green screen, not the one that I'm fakely using on TikTok. You can actually see the green screen through my microphone right here. I have a real green screen. So head over to YouTube and see the show. We've been here 5 years in a row, every single day, since December 31st, 2018, my family and friends. And this is a community. This is a place where we need to grow, because the one thing we could all say universally is that there's one show on planet Earth that's been here for 5 years in a row every day, promoting positivity and connection, and they've kept you from it. That should piss you off, and you should show up like right away on the Mark Inspires channel and start sharing it with everybody you know. Like, this is the thing that's going to happen, and I just don't know when someone's brave enough on that side of the screen to do it, but someone's going to be like, I can't believe they hide this guy from the world. I'm going to make it my personal mission to tell everybody I know. I'm going to post about anything I think's funny. I'm going to post. I'm going to blast this guy out until people see it, because there's no one on planet Earth that should be canceled for comedy. But I've been canceled for comedy for 4.5 years. So we don't even talk politics anymore. I mean, that was back during the election when I did the Donald Trump show. And it was freaking hilarious. If you happen to go and I changed the title. It's called Donald Trump Roasts Joe Biden for 4 hours. That's what it is. It's a face swap movie. And you see Trump, you see everything bad Biden did, and Trump's commentating on it. It's the funniest thing in the world. But they hid it from you because I hit on so much truth in those 4 hours and 20 minutes, I think it is. Roll it up. And you know what I mean? So you should check that out. Anyway, we're back to the story here. News of the day. Do you want to live to 100? It's a good question, honestly, because it depends. Is it a healthy 100? You know, you don't want to be that guy who's got like drool coming out from 87 on, but I live to 100. Yeah, that's not good. So let's see what the cancer surgeon has to say. What is the point of delaying death if you don't want to enhance life, asks Dr. Peter Attia. It's a question to which the former cancer surgeon turned management consultant and now best-selling author devotes his life. The secret, says Attia, is to focus less on how long we are living and more on how well we are living. This goes back to what we were just talking about. To get to a platform every day that's lifting you up with positivity and inspiration and helping you get away from the negativity of this world, that is a way to help your living. That my song, Something to Live For, is to ease my mind and help my living. I say it every time we start the show, and that's why I use my song from 2006 with Matt Zabrowski's Woohoo in it, because it's a powerful song and a powerful message. There's something to live for. I'm here every day to ease my mind and help my living, and my hope is that I'm sharing some of that energy with you, and it's helping you in your day, and you can go out and make some positive changes. Remember, the motto of this show is to effect a positive change one person at a time. You can't take on too much in this world. If I was to take on, I'm going to change the world in a day, I would have quit this show 4.5 years ago when I got canceled. I show up every day because I'm still hoping for that one. Still hoping for that one every day. So if that's you, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Turn on all notifications. YouTube doesn't even use those. But let's keep going. I would say do the YouTube and then also my Telegram. If you subscribe to my Telegram page, S-Coop always sends out a link. And if it's in the morning, I usually do because S-Coop's working. So I'm doing what I can to keep you guys in the loop. I also put these community posts out on YouTube that nobody sees. The 13.6 thousand people on YouTube, never any likes, never any comments, never any shares. And then I see everybody with like 1,000 subscribers or 1,500 subscribers, and they got 30 likes. They got comments on all these community posts. And I'm like, man, YouTube, you couldn't be any more obvious with the fact that you don't want people to see anything I say or do. Anyway, let's get back to the story. According to Attia, most of us are living longer, but rather than enjoying our lives, we are spending them in an ill health and pain. This is what I was talking about. I don't want to be the guy who's living to 100, but I'm not healthy at 100, you know? It's the brain. You got to keep that brain healthy. You got to keep your body moving. But let's get into it and see what Peter Attia has to say here. Rather than enjoying your years. So they're grappling with what he calls the 4 horsemen of chronic disease: cancer, diabetes, dementia, and heart disease. If we look after our health span, says Attia, an 80-year-old can have the coordination, movement, strength, and cognitive function of someone 2 decades younger. And they can enjoy their life until the end. But only if they build up a reserve now and put some savings in the bank, he said. It is a message that is resonating. Last year, Attia released his book, Outlive, The Science of Art and Longevity, essentially his prescription for how to improve our lifespan. And it was an immediate bestseller. Attia hosts a thriving podcast and has nearly 1 million followers on social media, where he posts regular health and fitness tips. If you want to check him out, maybe you could tell him that we sent you over. Prevention is everything. Heart disease, diabetes, Alzheimer's, and cancer. None of these diseases happen overnight. Even if a person has a sudden heart attack, that's a process that's been going on for 30 to 40 years before the heart attack. If you want to treat chronic diseases, you can't act with an acute medicine playbook. Your prevention must take place over decades. Attia argues that modern medicine, which he calls medicine 2.0, has reached the limits of what it can do and requires a reboot. We are living in a far better life than anyone can have imagined 5 generations ago, and Medicine 2.0 has been very successful at treating infectious diseases and acute illnesses. Let me see if I can move this. I hate having to look to the left. Modern medicine has had some success. If we want to eke out more lifespan and, more importantly, more health span, we have to move to a system that is far more preventative. That also relies on nutrition, exercise, emotional health, and sleep. It would be good of Medicine 2.0 and a bolt on strategies for Medicine 3.0. Attia himself embodies what he recommends to others. The father of 3, who now runs a private practice, has demanding daily exercise routine, mixing it up between cardio training on a bike and strength training with weights. His hobby is archery, And he goes walking at the weekend. And he goes walking at the weekend? Is that right? At the weekend? His hobby is archery, and he goes walking at the weekend. Isn't it on the weekend? He goes walking on the weekend? Is it walking at the weekend? Somebody tell me. English. Who's the English specialist out there? His hobby is archery, and he goes walking at the weekend. Do you walk at the week? I'm walking at the weekend. I can't wait to get there. I'm going to walk right at it. I've never heard anybody speak like that before. Who is this person who wrote this story? Laurel Ives. Laurel Ives. She put this story out on January 10th, and she said, walk at the weekend. Not sure if that's an error or if I'm just a mental case. You gotta let me know. Yeah, Mark, you're a moron. It is walk at the weekend. Oh, it is? I didn't know that that's what you were doing. I thought you walk on the weekend. You're like, I'm doing this all week, but on the weekend, at the weekend. Let's move forward, because clearly we have a Shakespearean, trained writer here that I'm reading. This is real poetry. So he's walking at the weekend, guys. Let's move forward, okay? He also spends the last 2 hours a week doing exercises focused on stability and strength. This is actually really good information, guys. Like, I don't do cardio training on a bike. I don't do strength training with weights. I don't archer. I'm not an archer, I shot the apple off of their head. Like, no, that's not me. But I do go walking at the weekend. No, but realistically, I think that if we all just did a little more, stretch more. That's another thing I didn't hear him say, but stretching, I hear, is massive for our health. I don't know why. I don't do enough stretching, but if you stretch your body on a daily basis, there's a health benefit to it. Just like taking your shoes off and standing on the earth for 15 seconds. You discharge and you reconnect with source, essentially. So, and I haven't done that in a while. It's cold, but I'm going out after this show. I'm taking my freaking shoes off. I'm taking my socks off. I'm going to stand on the earth for a minute, maybe 15 seconds. You could feel it. It's amazing. Sometimes, like, you feel tingly where you let all of this negative charge out of your body back into the earth. And it's like, man, I didn't realize how powerful that was. Your whole lower region of your body, just like something's released. I can feel right now. I got all this, you know what I mean? Because we're here in this world of just disgustingness. And then our shoes, the rubber soles in the bottom of our shoes keep everything within our encased soul here. It's like we don't have the ability to let it out. We're not touching the thing that we came from. So anyway, interesting stuff. His priorities: he spends 8 hours a day sleeping. Hold on. Sure, I spend 8 hours in bed every night. He's careful about what he eats and he drinks, and he's candid about his struggles with emotional health, and he works every day to stay calm and happy. This is very interesting stuff. I mean, the other thing I have to say, someone like this, typically when they're saying all these things about how you could do this, we could live to 100, they're not also mentioning the recognizing the difficulties and the mental struggle that we all face on a daily basis to get through life. They typically, when they're doing these, guru stories, and look, I have this, this thing that's going to save your life. It's only that. You never hear the, hey guys, look, I know I still deal with shit too. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, I'm doing X, Y, and Z because I want to have this chance to live to 100. But man, I still got a lot going on. I got 3 kids, and there's bills and everything else that goes on. We have clients, and people are demanding and certain they expect, and so all of this stuff weighs on your shoulders. And then you have he's an archer, But whatever you're doing, it's to stay balanced, and that's what I like about Peter Attias here. Is he's telling you how he's going to hopefully live to 100, but the best way to possibly live to 100 healthily. And I don't sleep 8 hours, guys. I need to start doing that because I don't get enough sleep at all. I mean, there were nights I got like 3 hours sleep, 2.5 hours sleep, because, and this is early on in the show, I was on so late thinking, oh, the longer I'm on, then we'll get people to find me. And nobody ever, he's like, when you're canceled and you don't know it, you're just like, okay, well, today I'll do another new comedy movie, literally create it live in the moment, hour and a half full feature film, and people will find it. And it's like, okay, well, I guess I'll do another full feature film. We did 9 of those. We wrote probably 1,200 songs here in the last 5 years. Every single day we write music. This is yesterday's song. This was just a jam last night. I was just ripping on that last night. I sang something, I don't know, but I didn't loop any vocals in this. I wrote my last breath. This was 2 nights ago. So every day I write a piece of music based on what's written in that chat. You can't keep a good man down. You can't keep a good man down, no. I'll fight you with my last breath. Listen to that. You can't keep a good man down. I'll fight you with my last breath. That's the message of the guy who's been showing up for 5 years in a row every single day. You can't keep a good man down. I'll fight you with my last breath. And I have to thank Trish Killian for throwing My Last Breath up on the screen, because that's why that song exists. I don't know where I'm going to go when someone writes in My Last Breath. My last breath, my last breath. There's something there immediately. Just I hear a piece of music when I hear My Last Breath, and then I start playing, and then all of a sudden lyrics come, and then we sing that. You can't keep a good man down. Fight you with my last breath. So there we go. This is the story of the day from Peter Attias. I'm going to move forward to the other story. This is the bigger one, which was Blue Zones, you know. Actually, this is real quick, guys. I just have to point this out because this is a story that came on, and I think this is really just to try to scare people. So let me just make sure you're aware, because clearly they're trying to now blow this out of proportion. Yeah, you're sure right, Joanna. She said that Portuguese blood has persistence. Not joking. So this is interesting. I'm just going to quickly share this story because I'm sure you're going to hear about it, and then it's going to create all this hubbub in the news. Something went wrong. Mother buys candy for 6-year-old son and realizes later that it was Delta 9. Yeah, she can't read. So a Fort Mill mom said she bought a bag of what she thought was candy for her son. However, it was Delta 9, a legal form of THC. Woman charged, 3-year-old son consumed drug-laced edibles. She was charged. Oh, wait, that's a different story. We may have to read that one, too. Catherine Bouteray said that she took her son to the hospital after he ingested the edibles. Now she has a warning for others. I was terrified, Bouteray said. I thought I'd killed my child. You could have. Delta 9 in it, you know. They went to a lunch Friday at a common market in the South End, and she bought a bag that caught the eye of her 6-year-old child. You know, the 6-year-old child's eye. You know, she didn't read where it said King Canna right on the freaking face of it. And it says freeze-fried Skittles, 300 milligrams Delta 9. And then there's a big picture of a marijuana leaf on the bottom corner of this photo, which I don't know if you could see that. And, you know, he was pointing to something at the counter, but I was like trying to figure out what it was, you know? And I was like, yeah, sure, just get him that thing that's got a big marijuana leaf on the corner of it. They have freeze-dried Skittles, freeze-dried. He handed it to me. She said, I handed it to the cashier. Butteray admits her son indulged in the colorful treats. Then she said he started feeling and acting strangely. You think? He freaking baked out of his mind. Little 6-year-old. You know? That's not good. That kid's going to be messed up for life. He's still in his daze. He grabs his head and said, Mommy, my mind is wobbly. And I was like, pass me some of that shit. No, I'm just kidding. Said, something in my mom brain was like, there's something wrong, bro, Bouteray said. Her fiance took a closer look at the label, and he's like, oh, it's Delta 9. She said, I still don't know what that means. He's like, it's pot. A spokesperson for the Common Market said his team improved signage for those products as an added precaution. He said in the store's policy to keep the products in a case or behind the counter. His staff is trained to educate customers when buying those types of products. Bouteray said her son is home after spending 6 hours in the ER. What the freaking heck? I got live age restricted on TikTok? I'm telling a news story. It's freaking comedy news. What the hell? Every time, guys, I'm not, what in the heck? You know, age restricted from you. What, guys, who out there is complaining about a news story about a mom who didn't read the label? And then now they're going to blame the I don't even know who they're going to blame, the guy, whatever, but she looked, this looked like clear as day. This is not like a normal product. It's like a handmade product. Anyway, I felt like such a crazy series of events, but it could happen to somebody else, Bouderet said. I'm going to see if there's a way to show you that photo just so you could see what this thing looked like. I think, like, I looked at it, I was like, yeah, I don't think I'd ever get my kids that. That's like, you know. Yeah, look at this. Do you guys see that? It says King Canna freeze-dried Skittles. Right there. And it says 300 milligrams Delta-9 with a huge leaf right here on the bottom. You know, I think most people know that that's pretty much what it is. And that's not something you got from the store that's like, oh, great, this was made by Nabisco. That's not a Nabisco product. King Canna. You should also kind of get at least an idea from King Canna. Anyway, I had to tell you that story, guys. It popped up, and I'm like, what in the friggin' heck? So apparently the fiance got blasted. He ate the rest of them. The next story. Well, I wanted to, again, we're kind of going all over the place today, but I had all these news stories for you, so I might as well get into them. This one was just, I'm scratching my head again because what I told you about my friend who lost his daughter recently, and then I see Michael Strahan reveals his daughter's cancer diagnosis on Good Morning America. And just to quickly go over this, she was 19 years old, and she's recently diagnosed with medulloblastoma, a rare form of brain cancer. And so Strahan said, I'm very proud of her, and she's always been strong, and this is something that is so personal that I didn't know if I'd be able to say anything about this, but she wanted to share, Strahan said. Isabella Strahan is 19 years old, and she's a student at the University of Southern California. She decided to tell her own story on GMA's Robin Roberts. Isabella said in September she began experiencing extreme headaches as well as nausea and an inability to walk straight. At first she thought she had vertigo, but in late October she began vomiting blood. She texted her twin sister Sophia, who informed the rest of the family. Michael Strahan then took her to the doctor. Isabella's MRI results showed a fast-growing 4-centimeter brain tumor that was larger than a golf ball. She had an emergency surgery to have the tumor removed the next day, and Isabella recently rang the bell, a celebratory tradition for cancer patients who complete their radiation or chemotherapy treatment. Isabella had 30 sessions of radiation and will begin chemotherapy at Duke University in February. I just want to stop here and ask you guys, because I need to know if you guys have heard anything about these things. I had a very interesting conversation early on in the show. And I brought a gentleman on who talked about a product called 714X, I believe, 713 or 714X. And Charles came on, and he worked with the inventor of this product. This product was curing people of things. And one of them was the Big C. And so basically, what's interesting is this guy's in Canada, and the treatment was pretty simple. When you go and you get 3 different blood infusions, or these infusions that go into your inner thigh, like right by your, like dongaroo, and you go in with this triple shot. And what happens is they take a blood sample before, and then they take a blood sample after that 3rd infusion, and you see the blood went from globular and like an amoeba form, like in the first shots, to perfect blood at the very end. And he's showing me how when they went from one to the next, they're testing, and they went from having the Big C to not having the Big C. And so this guy's out there fixing that issue for a little while. A U.S. senator winds up getting the Big C, and he calls on this product and says, look, I want to be saved. So he calls on this product, 714X, and the guy makes it available for this senator. Senator winds up curing himself, and then he goes to the FDA and he has them make the product illegal, so nobody else can use it. And this isn't, Charles explained to me, this is not the first time. This is not the first time that's happened. In fact, he said there were 7 different solutions to that Big C problem in the last 100 years. And every single time, the person is removed from the world in some way, sometimes literally removed from the world. And so when you hear that a 19-year-old is dealing with this, and the immediate move is to radiate and go to chemo, like, what do you guys think about that? This Charles explained that if you do nothing, you could live 12 years on average. If you go the chemo radiation route, the average is 3 years. So just based on the statistics alone, I don't understand why the move is chemo and radiation when we're in 2024. And I didn't know if you guys had ever heard of anything called Essiac tea. Have you heard of apricot seeds? Have you heard of any of these other alternative ways in order to maybe direct on those cells and to remove them without medical intervention like radiation and chemo? I've seen some amazing testimonials on Essiac tea. I've actually been taking it I drink it a couple times, maybe once a week, every couple weeks, just preventatively. It's not just for the C. There's so many health benefits that I see from Essiac, and the pushback I get from people is, oh well, it's not proven. There's nothing proven about it. And I'm like, I have this philosophy. I don't know if you guys agree with me, but if there was a fix, do you think Sloan, do you think Yale and Duke, these people would want you guys having that tea that you could get for nothing for like $100? These people will all be out of business in a day. They'd be out of business in a day if something like Essiac worked. That's the truth of the matter. So I would think lobbyists would do plenty of studies on these things and find reasons to dispute and dismiss. And they'll dismiss a guy who was stage 4 and went home and said, you know what, I'm not doing what you say. I'm just going to drink Essiac 3 times a day. And all of a sudden there's nothing there anymore. They go back and they're like, what did you do? You didn't do any of the things we said. And I don't see anything. Like, it's as if you never had it. Well, I took Essiac. Oh, that's just anecdotal. It's anecdotal because the pharmaceutical industry will never allow it to be. There's too much money to be made on the treatment. That's why there are never cures, because there's too much money to be made on the treatment. And that's why I was actually most in fear of this last 4 years when they were pushing everybody to go and do this stupid thing that didn't do anything positive for people at all. It's just making people sicker. Is I was literally thinking it's just going to make people sicker. And then what they're going to do is create new drugs to treat the people who they made sicker. It's like a freaking roller coaster ride, isn't it? And if you hear this really interesting speech by Rockefeller to the, I don't know who he was saying this to back in the day. It was like the Bilderberg event or something. And he said all these things. He's like, look, we're going to feed them poison, and then we'll feed them more poison, and they think that we're helping them, but we're just giving them more poison. And it's like, okay. He's like, he told you, and then all of a sudden, I remember it was like Jesse Ventura comes along, and he's like, come on, guys, it's Jesse Ventura. And he's out there doing these like, well, you tell me, Alex Jones, what are we talking about here? And so Alex Jones is like, look, in the very near future, I'd say they almost sound alike in a weird way. But Ventura's like doing this show about conspiracy theories. He meets this doctor, and she's like, I'm getting out of the United States. And he's like, where are you going? Why would you leave the United States? And she's like, I got to get out of here because in a very near future, could be today, could be next week, could be in 5 years, we're going to be under forced compliance. It'll be under voluntary. Like, if it's voluntary that you do this. And he's like, well, what do you mean? She's like, well, inoculation. And he's like, what? This is like 2009, guys. And she's like, they're going to force everybody, but say that it was voluntary. And it's going to be the end of humanity, essentially. And when I heard this, like before any of this went down, I was like, wait a second. I remember hearing this thing on like Ventura's show about this. He's like, that's right, guys. I'm like, whoa, Ventura got it right. I'd love to talk to Jesse Ventura, get him on the show and be like, Jesse, when you saw this thing hit and they were like, all right, guys, everybody weigh 7,247 masks. When you heard Dr. Weasel Faraci come out and start hitting everybody with that, like, hide your poopy pants doesn't work. You got to go get, what's the name of that crap they were using that was just the worst? Like, remdesivir. You got to get a remdesivir. If you don't get a remdesivir, you're not going to get better from the COVID-bovie. The problem with the remdesivir is like when people were using that for Ebola, 53% of them had renal failure. They died because of it after 5 days. So what was the strategy with remdesivir? Oh, we're going to only give it to you for 5 days. So then when people die after that, you could just be like, it was the COVID-bovie. Exactly. Anecdotal. It's all anecdotal, guys. Everything that's said in life is anecdotal unless Dr. Weasel Faraci says it. And then it's like, we got to trust that guy, Weasel, Dr. Weasel. My favorite, I created a meme that didn't take off, and it totally should have. I made a t-shirt out of it. And it was that whole, you're not a horse, you're not a cow. Come on, guys, you're not a horse, you're not a cow. And then right on the bottom, I said, no, you're a guinea pig. And I threw a guinea pig at the bottom. Best freaking meme ever. It's out in a few places. I even put MP Renaissance Man on it to take credit, because at the time, that's what the name of the show was. But that's what it was. The whole time I'd be like making comedy about it, and they were like, we can't let this comedy be seen. It's too close to the truth. I'm like, oh my goodness, man. If people actually, and Trish talks about this sometimes, if people saw the Donald Trump show I did, the movie, and they see the whole 4 hours together, the amount of context you get, and then all of a sudden looking back and be like, holy cow, that came true. That came true. That came true. And I was joking about it all, but my jokes were intended to strike because I knew it was all going on. Like, my favorite moment was April 9th, 2020, when I created episode 16 of the Donald Trump Show. And that episode is called The Gates of Evil. And the concept, or just the overall scope of that episode, was Dr. Evil, Bill Gates, Dr. Fauci, George Soros, and Vladimir Putin are trying to take over the world together. And it's the funniest scene in the world. It's hilarious. On April 9th, 2020, 15 days after we closed down the country, I created that episode. And Dr. Evil says, oh no, I'm sorry, Dr. Fauci says, remember, we need to strike fear into people so they think that they need it. Referring to the bugaboo. And that whole line, remember, we need to strike fear into people so they think that they need it. And then we had 4 years of striking fear into people so they think that they need it. But I said it on April 8th, 2020, is Dr. Weaselfroggy. And so I was so far ahead on every single thing going on because I didn't tune into the news. On July, I want to say 19th, OAN came out with the story on Hunter B. about Burisma and about all that stuff. It didn't come out to you and to the entire world until 2.5 weeks before the election. When it came out, I was like, what the I put that story out the day after OAN did. I made Donald Trump Show episode 19. It's called Biden Behind Bars. Bar none, one of the best Donald Trump shows. I didn't know who Zelensky was at the time. I thought Zelensky looked like Stifler's, the guy who banged Stifler's mom in American Pie. And so I made reference to the book. Yep, the guy who begged Stifler's Bob. Look, he's winning bigly. Look, Stifler, I'm begging you, Bob. Yeah. Oh, and like Catherine Zeta-Jones, there was this reporter who popped up. She looked like Catherine Zeta-Jones. Like, look, I'm not sure what Catherine Zeta-Jones was saying there, but we're winning big league, And it's a crazy, funny episode. And then at the end, I refer to Hunter B as, and this is something I still believe could be the case, that Hunter Biden is actually the guy from Scream, Billy Loomis. Right? You got to think it's the same guy, right? I think Hunter Biden was in Scream. I don't know. Skeet Ulrich. Guys, sometimes you see Skeet Ulrich on the street. And you're like, Skeet, how you enduring that crack? He's like, no, I'm not Hunter B. I'm Skeet. My bad. My bad. I thought you were Hunter B. cracking it out, with the big guy. No, I'm Skeet Ulrich. Murderer from Scream. Drew Barrymore. That's what I did best. Billy Loomis. But Hunter, if you go to Hunter B's IMDb right now, you see he's taking credit for Scream. You guys, you're like, nah, maybe there's a resemblance. Same guy. You're going to see that in the future. There's an episode. Uncovering the truth about Hunter B. He's really Skeet Ulrich. By Menon. So guys, we didn't get to the blue zone yet. I want to tell you about these blue zones because this is extremely interesting. What are blue zones? Here we go. So I had it open clearly. There's actually a bluezones.com. We're going to go there. Let's see what this has to say. No, this is a company that's trying to get you to move there. I was going to say it would be kind of cool if I went through and looked at some real estate in some of these blue zones to give you an idea of what it does cost to move to these areas. Let's see what this is right here. Why people in blue zones live longer than the rest of the world. I'm going to give you guys this link so you can look at it as well. If you are on TikTok, head over to YouTube. The link is in the bio. And also subscribe. and turn on all notifications. Why is that not working? All right, well, that's not going to work. You can't see the story, unfortunately. But I can read it for you real quick. Let's try that. Or I got another idea. We're going to do a screen grab so you guys can see the screen. That's a better way of doing it. That's called capture something. Window capture. Found it. Sometimes you need a minute. You know, there we go. See, guys? Okay. There we go. Now let's see if I can go back to... Right? Right? We did it together. Why people in blue zones live longer than the rest of the world. Blue zones are geographic areas with lower rates of chronic diseases and longer life expectancy. Diet, fasting, and exercise are factors associated with blue zones. Italy, Greece, Japan, Costa Rica, and the United States have a blue zone. Chronic diseases are becoming more and more common in old age. While genetics somewhat determine your lifespan and susceptibility to these diseases, your lifestyle probably has a greater impact. A few places in the world are called blue zones. The term refers to geographic areas in which people have low rates of chronic disease and live longer than anywhere else. This article describes the common lifestyle features of the people in blue zones, including why they live longer. So what are blue zones? Blue zone is a non-scientific term given to geographic regions that are home to some of the world's oldest people. It was first used by the author Dan Buettner, who was studying areas of the world in which people live exceptionally long lives. They are called blue zones because when Buettner and his colleagues were searching for these areas, they drew blue circles around them on the map. This is his book, The Blue Zones. Buettner describes 5 known blue zones. Icaria in Greece. Icaria is an island in Greece where people eat a Mediterranean diet rich in olive oil, red wine, and homegrown vegetables. Agliastra, Sardinia. This is Italy, guys. The Agliastra region of Sardinia is home to some of the oldest men in the world. They live in the mountainous regions where they typically work on farms and drink lots of red wine. You know, second time I've heard that. When I went to Portugal when I was 18, we met the oldest man in Portugal. He was 106 years old. And my mother knew him because when she was a kid in Portugal, she'd like visit the guy or something. That's the only reason we met this guy. And he's 106 and he still remembered my mother. He's like, oh, I remember you from when you were a kid. I don't speak Portuguese, but they're telling me like, yeah, he remembers when I was a baby and remembers like me being around. It's weird. 106. So my mother says to him, what's your secret? And he pulls out his red wine and he goes, a liter a day. The dude drank a liter a day, 106, freaking pounding a freaking liter of red wine. That's my man right there. Probably still alive. Red wine in it, right? He's red wine in it. So let's move forward. We have red wine in it in Sardinia. In Okinawa, Japan, Okinawa is home of the world's oldest women who eat a lot of soy-based foods and practice Tai Chi, a meditative form of exercise. This gets back to keeping the mind clean and clear and stretching and working on your physique, right? I mean, you're out there and this Tai Chi is like movement, right? It's about keeping everything loose, loosey-goosey, right? Okinawa's doing it. Nicoya Peninsula in Costa Rica. The Nicoyan diet is based around beans and corn tortillas. The people of this area regularly perform physical jobs into old age and have a sense of life purpose known as plan de vida. Live the life, I guess. The Seventh Day Adventists. The Seventh Day Adventists in Loma Linda, California. How freaking hard is it to say all that? The Seventh Day Adventists in Loma Linda, California. Loma Linda. The Seventh Day Adventists, I have to say it again, are a very religious group of people. They're strict vegetarians and live in tight-knit communities. Although these areas are discussed in Buettner's book, there may be unidentified areas in the world that could be also blue zones. This is what I wanted to get into. Are there other locations that we can actually get to? Like, is there one in Connecticut? Yeah, I'm just like, okay, I'll go an hour away and live there instead. A number of studies have found that these areas contain extremely high rates of nonagenarians and centenarians, which are people who live over 90 and 100, respectively. Interestingly, genetics probably only account to 20 to 30% of longevity. Therefore, environmental influences, including diet and lifestyle, play a huge role in determining your lifespan. Below are some of the diet and lifestyle factors that are common to people who live in blue zones. Blue zones are areas of the world where people live exceptionally long lives. We already have that. People who live in blue zones eat a diet full of whole plant foods. One thing that the blue zones have in common is they primarily eat a 95% plant-based diet. Although most groups are not strict vegetarians, they only tend to eat meat around 5 times per month. That's interesting. So every other day they're eating veggies. A number of studies, including one over 500,000 people, shown that avoiding red meat and processed meat can significantly reduce the risk of death from heart disease, cancer, and a number of other causes. So a number of studies, including one of over 500,000 people, have shown that avoiding red meat and processed meat. So now it's bad, like you can't eat red meat? I thought it's good to eat meat every once in a while, like you need the iron. Now they're telling you don't even eat it. I think that it's also not good to be a vegetarian, right? Like, man, I don't know. You can't get the right information from anybody. Oh, someone's calling in. Let's see if we can take this call on the air. I'm not sure how this is going to work. You guys ready? I think it's connected. Hello? John Luke. Let's see if we can get him on. Oh. Try to get John Luke on the air here. John Luke, you there? Good, buddy. Hold on. I'm trying to see if I can get you on the air with us. Give me 1 second. I'm going to try to plug my phone in. Let's see if this brings you in. How you doing, John Luke? Worst case, I'll pull the phone closer to me, and then we'll see if we can just do it that way. How you doing, buddy? I can hear you, but nobody else can, so I'm trying to see if I could get that working. Let me just, I'm just trying to pop this on and see if this connects us. Are we working now? Say a few things. John Luke, you there?
True stuff. That is free. Self and light.
Now I got you, buddy. I got you on the air.
Excellent. Yes, sir.
How you doing, John Luke? Where are you calling in from?
Hey, I'm calling out of Delray Beach.
Oh, nice.
Florida.
How's the weather down there?
You know, today's the first day. It was been rainy. It's been chilly, and the sun came out about 77 degrees and sunny.
77 degrees and sunny. I love that. Yeah, I'm here in Connecticut. It's about 36 degrees. We're dealing with it, you know? So, what can we chat about today, buddy?
Hey, so I wanted to call and talk to you about, you know, first of all, how it all ties in. You know, there is the Book of the Essenes. I want to talk about some scrolls. I've been looking a lot into the Apocrypha, thanks to you.
Oh, awesome. Book of the Essene.
Yes. So they spoke about the praying and the fasting. This were Dead Sea Scrolls.
Oh, okay.
So the Book of the Essenes, they were doing a lot of fasting. There was a protocol. They would chew the food, get all the sustenance out of it, and then spit the fiber.
What was that last part about the fiber?
Last time I did a fast, they would get rid of the fiber, spit the fiber out.
Oh, okay.
They would chew their food. So I wanted to pick your brain a little bit. If you got into some of the Dead Sea Scrolls, if you know about the Essenes?
Now that I haven't heard about, but I do know obviously about how they took a ton of books out of the Bible at the Council of Nicaea, but I haven't seen the book of. Can you spell that Essene?
It is spelled S. E S E. It almost looks like Ephraim.
ESE? What was the rest of it?
Essene, I believe.
Okay, here we go. Book of Essenes. All right, let me pull this up so everybody can take a look at the screen with us while we're looking at this and see what it is exactly. The book. Okay, so there's a lot of questions. People asking if the Essenes are in the Bible. So it sounds like they may have been in the Apocrypha. Is that correct?
I'm not sure.
All right, let's see if we can figure that out together. Because I think, now I pulled up the 1560 Apocrypha. I have not had a chance to read it for everybody yet live. I'm going to do that because I want to get into some of these stories like Bell and the Dragon and all these things that they don't, I think it's Bell and the Dragon. Yeah, maybe Bell and the Dragon. But there's a ton of stories. I mean, it's about over 100 pages that they ripped out of the Bible. And I'm like, why would they do that? That's what really you're probably like me. I'm a guy who wants to read it all and then determine what I believe at the end of it. And for them to say what we're allowed to see really bothers me. That really bothers me. Like in a certain time in history, they said, well, we don't want Mark Pires to read this one day. Well, what the freaking hell? Why? I want to see what's there and determine what I think is right and what's wrong. And if giants existed in the Book of Enoch and all these things, like for them to take that out and make a decision for humankind, there was like evil involved in that decision. What the hell? Oh, they just disconnected.
I think they're jealous.
I just got disconnected on TikTok. I don't know if it was because of what we're talking about. I can't see why that would be the issue. But was Jesus trained by the Essenes? We do not know whether Jesus was an Essene, but some scholars feel that he was at least influenced by them. There's a story, Jean-Luc, I'm not sure if you heard this or if this is accurate, but that Jesus, the reason we don't know anything about him from when he was 12 to 32 is that he went on a pilgrimage and just like traveled the earth. He took in everything. He met with all these different faiths and religions in order to fill out his. And I don't know if that's true or not, but it would be pretty cool to imagine like a Cain, like out on the just walking the earth, you know what I mean? And just wind up, I'm in a new village today. And I'm learning about what they do. And at the time where there's no internet, there's no way to communicate with people. The only way to really do it was to get up and move. And you'd have to just go. And if you're a 13-year-old kid or whatever, and what's life for you at 13? I mean, what do you do with back then? There's nothing. You're asleep by 5, 6 o'clock in the afternoon because there's no light. It's like everything is in this little period of time from the sunrise until sunset. And then everybody's slept at night, really. It's like, I mean, like, if it's funny, if we took away all the technology, we would all sleep like babies. It would be amazing. We'd all be healthy, but we're so connected to all of this stigma, all of this invention and this technology that takes us away from what's beautiful about us, which is our connection to Earth.
Exactly. And this it's almost a illusion of wisdom, illusion of being educated, of being advanced.
Yeah, because we were taught something and we believe it. Let's see what this says here. I found another one.
Yeah, they were breathing cleaner air, right?
Yes, the air
so
was
they
had more oxygen back then. So there's a lot of really positive things about, and that's why some people say we may have lived to 700-800 years back then because everything, there was no radiation. Maybe there was, but there's no negative effects to the earth. That's the thing that humans have done. I don't think that we've changed climate. I mean, this is just what's happening. We're on Earth. No matter what we do, we're not going to have any effect on what happens to this earth, only negative. It's going to be cataclysm because you have people like Bill Gates are like, let's just block the sun. You're like, shut up, just live your life. Like this whole idea that we should get involved and change the trajectory of the earth. This has been happening for billions of years, and we can't stop anything. There were ice ages. There were hot times. It's 50 years ago. If you go and pull up Life magazines, they were saying by the year 2000, we were going to have another ice age. Go and look it up, guys. My brother-in-law showed me one day. I was like, what? He's like, yeah, they used to hit everybody in the 50s and 60s that we're having an ice age. There's an ice age coming. And then It switches, nope, it's global warming. And it's like the reality is CO2 does not follow temperature. It's the other way around. Temperature rises and then the CO2 follows. So the idea that we could reduce CO2 and then reduce the temperature is ridiculous. It's asinine. And you have to look back 600,000 years ago in order to see that graph where it shows you that CO2 never was the leader. It's always been the follower. But it depends on who's telling the story, I think.
That's what I love. I want to hear out the story of the people that were using their brains without any of these distractions.
Yes. And
maybe that's great. I love how they took it out because it's almost a double truth.
That's actually a good point. If they left it in, then nobody would know how special it is. That's a really, really valid point. If we're here and we knew that every single book ever was in that Bible and it's 5,000 pages long or whatever, and we'd just be like, okay, this is an old book and, they gave us everything so we could round it out and there would be no conspiracy at all. Everybody would just be like, okay, we have the entire document, but we don't have the entire document. I wonder if someone could actually mathematically tell us how much percentage of the original Bible we actually have access to today. Like if it was 100% with the Apocrypha and all these other things that they took out of Council of Nicaea, what percentage do we have left? Is it 53%? It's 53% of the original Bible or 67%. Like I would love to know if somebody actually knows what was in there before the Council of Nicaea. So I have something here. I'm just going to read this quick for you. Who were the Essenes? Facts and the meaning from the Bible. An almost forgotten Jewish sect until the discovery of the Dead Sea Scrolls. The Essenes were a small separatist group that grew out of the conflicts of the Maccabean age. So that's interesting. I never heard of the Essenes. Actually, maybe I had, but I never really looked into it before. Now, I was blown away. The fact that you're talking about the Dead Sea Scrolls, I remember looking into that when I was a kid because the idea that these scrolls were sitting in this cave since, 40 or 50 BC. I mean, who knows? When were the Sea Scrolls written? Do we know? Was it after Jesus or before? Was it had all of the books? So it must have been a couple of years after he died.
After, believe.
Yeah, and I think that. Yeah. See, what I'll have to do is one of these days I'll pull up the Dead Sea Scrolls, see if we can get a full story on that. So something I started yesterday, you may have seen, is a new series called Chasing History. And this is the stuff that I want to do. Like what you're bringing to me right now, it's probably going to be the next story. I'm going to look into the Essenes now. I'm going to look into the Dead Sea Scrolls, and we're going to do a story on both of those for Chasing History. And I sent a message to, I don't know if you guys know, Scott Walter. Scott Walter was a part of a show called Hunting History, I think it was. It was on the Travel Channel. Do you guys remember this show? And he was basically getting into all the occult and the old school the pyramids in the United States. His name's Scott Walter. He's a forensic geologist. He's a brilliant man, but he's got a great heart. You could tell when you watch his show. So I sent him a note yesterday with the Gilgamesh story I did, and I said, Scott, love your work. I'd love to have you on the show to see if you could school us all on our origins so we could really get fill it out. And while I was live here, I saw he responded to my message on X. And I think he said he'd like to come on the show. So I'm going to see if I can set that up, especially now that I'm doing a morning show. Maybe I could have people like Scott and others who can fill out this knowledge for us. And we could do this live on the air, take questions and have Scott answer them, that type of thing. I think this would be something
that would be incredible.
Yeah, Jean-Luc, I have a feeling Scott knows everything about the Essenes. Like, he's so brilliant. I got to tell you, now listen, we're watching a TV show, so I know the research was done before he went and filmed those scenes. So he's giving us information that he researched prior. But I'm pretty sure you throw a little topic out there like Essenes, or you talk about the origin of Jesus. I'm pretty sure that dude could just go for an hour or two, just talk to us. So I'm going to see if I can work that out. Just stay tuned. I'll see if I can leave a note for you guys. I'll make a community post. Nobody sees those, but I'll put it up when we do get a Scott Walter interview lined up. So while I have you on the phone, Jean-Luc, so we have Essenes. We're looking into the Dead Sea Scrolls. Is there anything else that you think would be really cool to know more about as a part of Chasing History? Like I was actually thinking.
I was in the Sistine Chapel like 3 months ago.
You were at the Sistine?
Yes.
I did that.
Yeah, and to be honest, I kind of like the market. I kind of like the local market down the street, a few blocks away.
Really?
A little bit more.
Wait, you like the market better than the Sistine?
The Sistine, they say you have to, if you were to look at every artifact for 60 seconds in the Sistine Chapel, it would take you 2,000 years.
What? There's that much there?
But there's so much there.
Wow.
And there's Egyptian artifacts, Babylonian, Sumerian. And you almost have to have a strategy before going in there to know what you're looking for.
Wait a second. Now you have me very, very curious. So you go into the Sistine Chapel, which is directly connected to the Catholic Church. And within that Sistine Chapel, they have history that's connected to the Sumerians, to the Egyptians, so on and so forth. Is that what you're saying?
Correct.
So what they're saying to us is, morons, there's more to the story. You know? That's what it seems like to me, because I haven't been there. I've never been there. But like when you walk into a place like that, and what you're there to do is to understand the origin of this building. But when you're in that building and the artifacts speak to a time thousands of years before, you start realizing that this is all that's the base that led towards the top of the pyramid, which is the Sistine Chapel. In that moment, you're at the top of the pyramid, which is the Sistine, and everything there is the basis for that building. And you're telling me now that you have Sumerian tablets and Egyptian, documents and scribes and pieces of hieroglyph. Like they're laughing at us. They're laughing at us. Because they're hiding this history from us, but it's right there on display. But here's the way that they laugh at us even more, Jean-Luc, by saying, yeah, we'll let you see it. Come on down. You're like, okay, well, I am 20 years old. I'll go and take a look. They're like, oh, by the way, 60 seconds. You got 2,000 years? You got 2,000 years to see it all? Nobody can. So nobody, to your point, you have to have a strategy, because there's no way any human soul would be able to catalog the 2,000 years of information, 5,000 years of information that they threw into that building there. But again, if you told me it was all, these beautiful paintings like Da Vinci, and then you've got these sculptures, and it's all related to the Catholic religion and Michelangelo, and you've got all this stuff, I'd be like, okay, that makes sense.
I love it.
But the fact that you're pointing out that they have these other religions and belief systems as a part of the Catholic faith there that lead to the top of that pyramid, I'm blown away now. Now I really want to look into that.
I have chills.
That makes
because it's right in plain sight.
Right in plain sight.
And I've got pictures of old world maps. I was looking at all the friezes from Raphael and Da Vinci, and like you said, it's the plain sight,
and
the best hiding spot.
One technician called the other one over there, and then they called the boss over there, and they were talking Hebrew a mile a minute there.
Oh, sorry, I was like, is that you or me? I just shut off TikTok, but then now some clip opened up. What's interesting, actually, I'm gonna really quick while you're on. Let me see what this was. This is this thing with Ron White.
And they looked at me and they said, Mr. Wyatt, this human blood only has...
Ron Wyatt. Do you know who Ron Wyatt is?
Yeah.
So this is, and it's interesting. I mean, let's talk about life real quick, Jean-Luc. We're here talking about the Dead Sea Scrolls. We're talking about the connection, our origin, and the pyramid, essentially, of all of these previous events that led to the Sistine Chapel. And as I shut down TikTok because they booted me off the air, the first thing that pops up is Jesus' blood found on the mercy seat. And it's Ron Wyatt telling the story about how he found the blood of Christ. That's right now. That's right now in the background while we're talking about all of this. Like, could have been anything. I have stuff fly through my FYP page all kinds of stuff, from flat earth to cures to things, people trying to help you make money. The first thing that pops up when I'm speaking with Jean-Luc about this topic, this powerful topic, our origin and our connection to the Creator, is Jesus' blood found on the mercy seat. And by the way, I call him Yahushua because that's his name. I don't think it matters what anybody calls him, but I feel like, I don't know, if I came back one day and someone was calling me by the wrong name, I'd be kind of pissed, you know? That's how I feel. I just don't know if that's real, but I feel like he wasn't Jesus. Like, that's just a made up name. Like, I think it's funny if you do, I don't know if you saw this piece of content, but if you go onto AI, you do ChatGPT and you say, you know, why is Jesus' name Jesus when his name was Yahushua? And they say, well, the Catholic Church decided to make Jesus special. It's like, but wait, the Bible says his name has power. So the Catholic Church decided to take away that powerful name and give you a new name? That seems like a bit of evil at work there. Like, okay, we're now calling somebody by the wrong name because, like, why? Well, because these human beings who took control of this church decided so. Wait a minute. That's not God's word. You know, God's word was my name is Yahushua. And it's like funny, if I heard someone say Jesus or Yahushua, I feel like Yahushua's got power to it. There's something to that name, you know? And maybe it's because it's such a unique name.
I always think of it as Je suis in French.
Je suis
means I am.
Ah. Je suis. Wait a second.
I would rather not say any name than say the wrong name.
Yes.
So I'm with you there.
Thank you. And wait, so you just filled in a little more for me. So can you say in French, you said Yeshua is what it is? It means I am?
Oh, Je suis.
Je suis, which again, if you take that and you just lengthen it to somewhere else in the world, it'd be Yeshua. Je suis, Yeshua. It's kind of like the same thing. I am. Like, okay, so that Je suis may have come from Yeshua, which these people tied to I am. That's who Yeshua was to these people maybe 6,000-7,000 years ago. They're like, well, we're translating things, figuring out, because all these languages came from something else. And so you have someone who says, okay, I am. They're like, oh, that's Je suis. Wait, no, you mean Yahushua. It's like, but these words are so close. Like if you listen to Italian and Portuguese, you could actually kind of get along. My father used to joke, he could speak to someone from Italy because they're romance languages. They all come from Latin. So there's a lot of tie-ins. Can't fully get by, but you can hear and understand. And so I would say, I don't know where these languages connected, but if you say Je suis, to me, I could definitely hear how you could get that from Yeshua, you know, and you go 1,000 miles and people just speak a little differently. I could go 500 miles here and I got someone down south talking like this. You know what I mean? So it's like, you don't know the difference in geographic location and how words are coming out as they're shared. So I think that's really amazing. Je suis. I got to look into that too.
Hey man. Yeah, you got a gift, man. I love the impersonation.
Oh, thanks, buddy.
They're so spot on. I really know the code is there. It's all been written.
Yeah.
Right. There's nothing new.
Nothing new.
It would be so cool to link up with some people that are also seeking the foundations, the origins.
Yeah, I think that you just nailed it too.
Maybe we can take something and create some type of dialect.
Yeah.
Something that the algorithm can't understand.
That would be an interesting thing to get past all, because I realize everything's listening in. When I was on TikTok, I told this story about how this mom bought like gummy bears. She thought it was just regular gummy bears for a kid. It's got a huge marijuana leaf on it, and then it says like Delta 9 on it, and it says King Canna, Canna. And this lady's a moron clearly, but that like they tell it in the news like there's drugs being pushed on kids, and it's like, no, idiot lady didn't read label, you know. So I just wanted to do that story real quick, and then TikTok they said age restricted. I'm like, so they literally have AI listening to every stream, and if you say something, they'll either limit you, reduce viewership, or just flat out take you off the air, which is a very frightening time to be alive. And that's why I kind of, in a weird way, I was talking about this last night. Like, I know I get frustrated that I can't be found because of what I do here every day for 5 years. However, it has allowed me to speak complete truth for 5 years every single day. And they wouldn't allow it. If people did find this show, you're going to see people going back and pulling up all the powerful stuff I dropped, and they're going to have a problem with it then. They didn't the whole time I actually did it, But now they'll go back and find 5 years worth of powerful information, truth, comedy about certain groups, because I think it's ridiculous. And I can make comedy. I'm a comedian. I always have this philosophy. If you don't like comedy, get up and walk out of the room, use your finger and scroll, but don't be the guy who thinks that you could be the arbiter of comedy when you're not a comedian. Nobody cares what someone who doesn't understand comedy has to say. But why all of a sudden do we care? Why do we care if some group is offended because a comedian made fun of them? It's stupid. You shouldn't be trying to change the world and then get mad when someone makes fun of your group. That's the reality of it. If you just lived your life, people would leave you alone. But when you try to change society, then you are there and you are within the rings of all comedy. You can't say, well, no, you can't make fun of me because of X. No. You decided to make yourselves the focus. So now comedians are going to take that and they're going to make comedy out of it. It's just life. For the last 1,000 years, you'd go, the king would call on a comedian to come into the court and he'd be the jester. He'd go in there and he would make comedy out of what's going on that day. Ah, king, it'd be really nice if we had some fresh fruit. And so nothing's changed. Comedy's pushing the limits based on current events. And we don't have that anymore. It's like, don't say the right thing or we'll cancel you. And I'm so over it. It's like, so I got to say, it's kind of a positive. I'm here. I'm able to say how I feel. One day I'll get in trouble for it. One day I'll get in trouble when people go back and start doing what they do best, which is ripping people down. But the intention has been here every day for 5 years, which is to try to bring this world together with truth and with comedy and music. I don't understand why it's a hard thing to get out there, but I do. Like someone said to me, do you understand how hard it is for positivity to grow? And I said, no. And they said, well, let me give you an example. If you say something positive, it has this type of effect on you. If you say something negative to yourself, it has a 70-time effect. And if you get a positive, you do a great job for someone, 1 out of 10 people is going to say a review. If you do a bad job for someone, it's like the whole internet's against you. And so you have to really understand that negativity sells. People don't care about the good stuff because they're so focused on the negativity. So if you want to be the positivity guy, if you want to be the guy who shows up every day to deliver truth and a really bright message into this world, you better expect it's going to be 5, 6, 7, 8 years before anyone knows you exist, or just don't bother doing it at all. So I tell myself these things because I'm like, I did another thing that no one's going to see. So it's like, you got to just do it for the staying level thing that I'm trying to do here. Because if I can't stay level through all this, I'll literally go nuts. Like, okay, we're creating cool content that could help a lot of people. They can't find it. But if I wasn't creating that content and I'm now feeling the negativity of this world at all times, I would be miserable. I would not be the same person, So there's a lot for me I have to reflect on when I think about the negative side of being held from the people. The positive side is that I can fully express myself here. And that would probably change if I had to worry about certain groups tuning in and then being offended by words,
Oh yeah, all day. There's a way to go around this algorithm. And before the algorithm was around, we got brothers and sisters that have laid the foundation and shed light and no matter the darkness of that timeline that they were in, they brought light to it.
And that's a good point.
Being adaptive.
Well, that's kind of why I think the only reason why we're still here today. Like every generation has had, the best way I could say it is Christ-like individuals that have kept the torch moving. Because if it all ended with Christ, if it ended with Yahushua, then we'd be done because evil is so powerful in this world. The devil runs the earth. And that's why people sell their souls to the devil. It's because they want things in this life and he'll give it to you. He'll give you whatever you want. You don't think I could have gone on a mountaintop and given my soul to the devil and said, give me people? But he hates me. He hates me because I keep showing up every day telling you guys what's really going on. And at the end of the day, I'm here trying to save my soul every day. It's like, yeah, I'm here every day to bring people up. But the real goal is to save my soul. I don't know what anybody has. I have this philosophy called soulfillment. It's a book I'm trying to write. I haven't gotten through it yet. But the concept of soulfillment is that we have a barometer within ourselves of acts and kindnesses we have to deliver into the world before we finish our time here. And mine seems to be the largest barometer in history because I'm not even where I want to be, you know? And so I keep trying to fill this every day showing up to fill this barometer of hope that I have. Everyone has one that they have to give to this world. Soul fulfillment. You can't fulfill yourself without fulfilling your soul. Concept is very simple. When we do one thing for someone, we have this immediate flushed reaction. Like I hold the door for someone, they say thank you and smile at me. Right then I feel something. Wow, I feel great. I just helped someone. That smile gave me some positive energy. But in that same moment, I'm also filling my soul fulfillment barometer. It's something I can't see. And each of these things I do continue to fill up that barometer inside of me. And hopefully one day when it's my time to meet St. Peter, I'll be at a position where he says, you did your work. You did the work of Yahushua. You did the work of the Creator, which is to try to bring people together, not to divide people at a time when that is clearly what they want done. It's such a sad state of affairs because people want to divide. Like, that's the weird thing. It's like, you figure if you know the game is get them to divide, you'd just all be like, okay, well, we're just not going to play. You know?
Hey, man, that's it. It's consensual based.
You're right. If
and
they put it out there,
is incredible.
Well, thank you, brother. I appreciate you so much.
The music is liberating.
Oh, thank you, buddy. That means a lot to hear. I don't get to hear a lot from people, so I'm glad you called in. You know, it's funny. I go through my day when I'm not doing this show. I'm in the middle of a real estate day, and it's like I'm not like people in my real estate world. They don't even know I do this, so it's like I'm just a nobody. I'm out there in the world doing my thing, and every day I'm able to kind of break away and let it all out here. And the music to me has been very, very therapeutic. So well, I appreciate.
We need more of you. We need more of you. I'm here in Florida. I drum.
Oh, awesome!
I got a pair of bongos.
You need a beat seat,
and I
brother.
got a djembe.
You got to get a beat seat. It's so much better than all those.
I want to say there's so much abundance that people aren't receiving.
Absolutely.
So much love being broadcasted from the heart of God.
Oh, absolutely.
And, you know, lately, this is an example. I went to an island in the Bahamas. I asked the Rasta guy on the island, would it be cool if I get some coconuts down from the tree? He said, nobody's ever asked me that before. Usually the coconuts are for us. But if you can climb up that tree, you can have as many as you want. So I did, but every time I attribute the gift to me being able to climb the coconut tree is directly attributed to the intention of giving a coconut, cracking one open for somebody else.
Beautiful.
When I got back to Florida, I connected with my brother in the faith, Nathaniel, and turned him on and told him, hey, all you got to do is get an extension saw and a machete, and you have unlimited coconut water. But the rule is you have to share them with people.
Yeah. Well,
we have this gift. We got to give it. The abundance comes through with the intention of giving it away.
You know, it's so interesting you say that because I've heard people who do that with wealth say the same thing, that when you start to realize that giving is how you get, and that's a very kind of contrary concept because people need to get through things in order to be able to get to that point. But it does make sense. You're kind of putting something out into the universe that's really, really beautiful. You know, that's why I'm kind of torn. Sometimes I'll see these clips that come up on TikTok where a guy goes up to a homeless person, hey, and they do these like tests to see if they are a good person, then they give them $100 or $50. And I'm like, the thing that I don't like is I know that person's doing it just to get views. And now they're doing this thing and they're putting some homeless person on camera, and sometimes it's really uncomfortable. But there's also something nice about that person caring about the person sitting on the street and no one else did. And so I'm torn because I don't know. I feel like, for example, that's another way you could sell your soul. I could go out today and I give money out all the time to people on the street, but I don't film myself doing it. That's the difference. I could go out there and have a guy follow me and say, guys, I'm going to go and I'm going to hand money out to all these homeless people today. We're going to create content on TikTok and on Clapper and on YouTube. It's going to blow up. We're going to get millions of views. I can't sell my soul. Like, to me, that's what that seems like. However, when I watch someone do it, I'm like, I am on board with helping those people. I do it when I'm out in the streets. I'm just not filming it and making content out of it. I'm making content out of, like you said, celebrity impressions. And to me, it's about creating something of my own rather than using someone else's suffering as a way to get views. And that's what it is. Think about that. Guys, you could go up to someone with no leg and just go up and talk to them on camera. And because that person's suffering, now you have that negativity thing that people connect to and millions of views. So using someone's suffering to get viewership is cringe. That's the best way. You're right. It's cringe.
And who's really watching, If we know how great our reward is and we have the one true viewer, what is there to gain from millions of, scrollers? Yeah,
no, I think that's the very good point. Is you want to make sure you're doing especially if you're a content creator, you want to create content that you're passionate about, and whether or not people are going to connect with it or not is if it does it make you tick. Like, what are you doing it for? I take these news stories and I do them because I have fun doing it. Like, I'll do this Hilaria Baldwin thing. I think it was so much fun. Like, I want to do more stories like that where people are so stupid in this world today and no one's calling them out. I'm like, and I know that's kind of negative in a weird way, but it's comedy. To me, it's just comedy. And getting into this Chasing History, I'm really excited about it, especially since you gave me a couple of really cool topics here, Jean-Luc. This is going to be very exciting. So I'll get the Dead Sea Scrolls going. I'll get the Essenes and see if we can get some more on that, because it sounded like people think Jesus may have been part of that sect. And that could be a whole really cool Chasing History episode. I'm going to also look in after the show.
Glory to God for your gift. Glory to God for your gift, for always keeping it light.
Thank you, buddy. Thank you very much.
And that's super classic with the Hilaria bit.
Hilarious.
And it needs to be called out. Something just needs to be called out. Yeah. Now there's people calling things out that they would have never been calling out in the past. So
exactly.
Right now, it's a great time.
Well, that's a good point. The calling out thing is funny because I find I'm not very good at it. Like, in general, if someone does something to my face, I'm just like, I see them for who they are type of thing. My wife is really good at calling people out. So she'll call people out right to their face, and I'm like, I wish I had more of that quality. But I would say comedically, I have no problem doing it. I can't do it with a malicious intent. That I have a very hard time doing. But I am very much appreciating the fact that you've been tuning in, buddy. And I really hope, and this is the thing.
It's medicine. Laughter is medicine.
It sure is. It's funny. I always said,
Hilaria Baldwin and Elizabeth Warren kind of rhyme.
I could probably do a little something about her too with being Indian. That's hilarious. Did you find the show because of the 1775 Bible?
Yes. Yes.
That's cool. That's cool.
My wife turned me on to the show.
That's awesome. See,
I'm like, wow, this music is great, man.
Wow, thank you so much. It means a lot, because I keep thinking we have a new subscriber, A Plays, who comes in when she can, and she said something that it really took it to heart and it made me happy to hear and see. She said, "Came for the Bible, staying for Mark Inspires." And I was like, that's the whole point here, is whatever way the good Lord gets you here, the thing that they've been hiding most for the last 5 years, that's what you should be staying for, not for the Bible. The Bible's going to come out. I'm going to bring that Bible out all the time, randomly, but you're here for the music. You're here for the comedy. You're here for the truthful, inspirational content that happens daily. So the fact that you're on board with that, buddy, means the world to me. Thank you so much.
Hey, it's an honor. It's an honor to be on the phone. Thank you for taking my call.
Oh, man. I'm going to change the title. I'm changing the title. I'll say Jean-Luc called in for, and is it Jean?
It's the Gian.
Gian.
One word.
Luca? Gianluca. Gianluca. I'm sorry. I was calling you Jean-Luc. Gianluca. Very cool. I'm going to see if I could put this up there so if anybody does catch this feed, they can hear our conversation. It's a real pleasure to speak with you and to hear from you, especially with a couple of assignments to see if I could get started on here for Chasing History. I'm really hoping for you guys to provide me with other thoughts. Hey, look into the The burning of the Alexandria Library and all the books that disappeared after that.
Oh.
Like that would be a cool one as well. I think I should do. So anything like that you guys would have an interest in. I think because I said this a few months back, I really want to do the things that I'm passionate about, but there's so many things I'm passionate about. So if you guys tell me what you're into, I'll just make content about that stuff because I'll be passionate about it. But I'm like trying to figure out what to make content about. So like the more you guys share and interact with the show, the better the show's going to get because I'm going to be giving you what you ask for. That's why we do the songs live in the moment because I'm like, I don't know what to write tonight. What do you guys want to hear? What's that?
Yeah, I love the Asians, and the contribution of the community is key.
Absolutely. I'll be
the Asians. We're talking about keeping the bone marrow clean, keeping the pineal clean. They were doing a lot of praying, fasting.
They were actually referring to the pineal?
Yeah, they referred to the pineal. I have a 1568 Bishop's Bible. And it's hard to read. But I think if we got some other people that got a few of these, the hard to read things, this algorithm has no idea how the Old English, how to translate the Old English.
That's a very good point. It's not paying attention to Old English. It's not. It's actually doing a great job of understanding the different slang words that we use in the current time, but it's definitely not training its algo on 1775 or 1568 content. I love that idea. And I really do love doing the Old English reading. And I don't know how to read Old English per se. I'm just like, it's just some words change and it's like, man, I got to somehow in real time switch those. Sometimes I'm horrible at it. But most times I'm able to make that adjustment and just read a little slower. And so I'm really looking forward to the Apocrypha, which is 1560. It's probably right before that your St. John's Bible. But that's awesome. Where did you get that Bible?
Oh, I've got this Bible from my wife got it. Hey, where'd you get that Bible?
There is an Indian. It came from India.
It came from India. It's
India.
A reprint, though.
Oh, but that's okay. So it's the reprint, but still you have the physical copy. I thought it may have been original at first.
No, that the one you have is so legendary, and love the history behind it. Thanks to
Stephen Howell.
What's the name on yours? Yeah, Stephen Howell.
Stephen Howell, American Revolutionary War soldier.
Legendary.
That man. I'm sitting here today because of Stephen Howell. It's why I think it's interesting how we give credit to George Washington. We give credit to the commanders, but it was the people like Stephen Howell that won us that war. It's the people who were willing to leave their families and fight alongside the commander in order to take out their bayonet and do what's right for the freedom of this country. And so, like, I don't know, man, it's sitting right behind me at all times.
In the middle of a bitter winter.
Yes, exactly. A bitter winter. And then the other thing I love is like this was printed right while we were fighting. It's like there were bayonets on the field and there were cannon blasts and there were people killing each other while this Bible was being printed in Cambridge, England. And the people that were reading this Bible at first were like, we're going to win the war. They're reading this Bible expecting God to protect their faith and their future. And no, our country had God at our back. And it's just amazing that all that was going on in 1775, 1776, and it's right there to be kind of observed and taken in. So I do want to do this whole idea of reading all these verses from the Bible from you guys from 1775, but I still think it would be pretty cool to read the entire thing. You know what I mean? And just peg off a little bit each day. And I'll get back to that. The last couple of days have been a little nuts, but yeah, that's why I think I keep it right behind me. So at any time someone says, hey, can you read some chapter, some verse? I'll pull it out and we'll do that, But this has been really cool, Jean-Luc. I appreciate it, man. And I'm going to see if I could get this title adjusted in case anybody wants to hear a call-in. It's our first call-in for this morning show. I thought it'd be pretty cool to do this, guys. Just open forum. Anybody has any questions or talk about topics like this, like Jean-Luc did, this is what the show is for. It's for us to connect and to finally do it together instead of me just broadcast at the screen for the last 5 years. So more of this is definitely going to be going on. And I like this concept of maybe a Zoom call with multiple people who could fill out some of our questions. Scott Walter's most likely going to be a Zoom call, But there's this guy, you know Sam Halal? Is that his name? I know you know this guy. Have you seen this guy, Gianluca?
Sam.
His name's like Sam Halal or something like that. He's on, you can find him online. He just rips apart anybody who doesn't believe in Jesus or Yahshua. And he does it in a way because he was a Muslim first. And now he goes after all these people who are Muslim and try to rip apart Christianity. And he's found everything in the Quran which points to Jesus being the Son of God. And he finds where they are being hypocritical within the Quran and they're not actually reading where Jesus is the Savior. They're seeing him as just some guy. But they'll also consider Mary to be the greatest woman of all time. He's like, well, then if Mary's the greatest woman of all time, the only sacred woman ever, why is her son not? And they won't believe what's right in front of their eyes. So he's brilliant. Have you seen this guy?
Oh, I believe I have. And I went on the way to Italy 3 months ago. I was flying Turkish Airways. They have the Quran available to read.
Oh, really?
I clicked on a random, I think it was like chapter 3, subsection 7. Because, 3s and 7s, I don't know. I just clicked on a random chapter and a subsection. And it's talking about Jesus.
Really? The first thing you opened?
And first thing I opened. I need to go back into it and look at that.
It's so amazing.
But I love you come out with this epic Bible. And the people that come into the room are not offended. And it's like it's one of the things that it's a filter almost, because you start talking about certain things, some people tune out.
Yeah.
And to know that there's people that did stay tuned in can come together and write some questions with integrity and really meditate on those things, and then come together and make them. Your consistency is beyond words. Like, it's so respectable. I'm blown away by your consistency.
Oh, thank you, buddy.
And it's just a trickle of that integrity through this community and go towards some of those group video chats, sharing questions. I'm in.
Awesome, brother. That's all I need to know. I really do appreciate those words. It's very, very kind of you to share. I've just put one foot in front of the other every single day. I know it, like, even now I look back myself and I'm like, I can't believe it's this many days in a row. But like, it's just because every day I forced myself, no matter what, to go live. There were a few days I almost missed it. It was like 11:58 and I was like trying to get back here. I'm pushing live. So I really have worked very hard to keep the streak going. And it is for exactly what you just said. I'm trying to let anybody who finds this platform understand that there's still a little hope left in this world. And if I could provide that in just the form of showing up, whatever comes out of me that day, I don't know because I don't have a script, but if just the idea of seeing Mark Inspires or Mark Pires is live again gives you that little bit of jolt, like, okay, yeah, I got this crappy day ahead of me. But if he could show up again today with 3 kids, married, and he's a real estate agent, he doesn't even get paid to do this. I can do whatever the heck I got going on in my life. And that little bit of hope is what we are missing in this world. So it means a lot to hear you say that. And I can't wait to see you in the chat with everybody. And Joanna Maynard's giving you a thumbs up. I think we had, guys, if you haven't subscribed to Joanna yet, please do that. She's awesome. She's also a creator. Backass, you can subscribe to too.
That's it. I roast coffee down here. Importing roasters, espresso machines, pasta machines, pizza ovens. I want to send Joanne some coffee then, bro.
You want to send Joanne some coffee?
I roast coffee every week.
Do you really?
I'll send you guys some coffee. Yeah.
Dude, do you understand? Like, it's funny. My wife, I got a Jura. You know the Jura machines? Jura. I'm sure you know what those are.
Of course.
So I love coffee, okay? But like, I would never buy a $2,500 coffee machine. It's just stupid. But we have Facebook Marketplace, you know? So like one day I'm just like, for like a month, I'm looking at Juras and seeing all these different models, $600, $500. And then I see this guy puts one up for $200. and it's like a Jura 60, or I think a C60, I think it is. And so I'm like, all right, it doesn't have any of those crazy cool like displays where you can see a picture of a coffee you're getting, but it's a Jura. So I send a message to the guy and I said, hey, look, I love coffee. You know, he goes, I don't. He's, you know, I'll sell it to you. So I meet the guy, and so we're talking, and he says, you know, it's so funny. He goes, I'm a real estate agent with Berkshire Hathaway as well in Rye, New York. And I'm like, no way. I'm with Berkshire in New Canaan, Connecticut.
No way.
Yeah. So we connected. We both work for the same company as realtors. And he goes, my partner and I, you know, he doesn't drink coffee, and I don't drink coffee. We live in an apartment, like this smaller apartment. He's like, it's taking up all the space. He's like, so I just want somebody who could appreciate it to have it. I'm like, well, you found the right guy, buddy. Like, so every day I make 2 coffees. I make one in the morning, and then when I get through that, right before the show, I make my second coffee about 5 or 6 o'clock in the afternoon. And so, and I'm a bean guy. I don't like ground coffee. I'm like you. Like, if I'm going to make my coffee, I want to grind it right before I make it, you know? And something it's interesting. I think we should be connecting outside of you're sending some to Joanne, but I want to find someone that I could trust to get coffee beans from because my wife has alerted me there's a lot of bad coffee out there with mold and things that could cause health issues and brain decay and Alzheimer's from like moldy coffee. And I was like, man, I got to find like an organic source or somebody I could trust that's making fresh coffee. So there's so many things that we're connecting on right now, my friend. So many things. Oh, Joanna says she grinds her beans. She uses distilled water. These are all good ways to get the best coffee. Distilled water, I think, right? Is that the best way to get it?
You know, I'm a technician at heart. And there's so many deals out there. If you look for it, I mean, America, so much value. It needs to be rebuilt and refurbished. And
sure.
I'm in the business of restoration.
Oh, cool.
And many years, let's say decades, of neglect can be made right within a short period of time.
For sure. You renovate homes or cars? What do you do? What do you restore?
It's espresso machines.
Oh wait, you restore espresso machines? That's what you work on?
Yeah, my pop started in '83 down here.
Dude, that's freaking amazing. Like we got to do an episode on that. Can we do that one day? We'll get you on for Zoom and we'll bring in some videos and show some pictures and show it off. Like I think that's awesome. I'd love to have that on the show. I already got half-pound bags. Dude, that's so awesome.
That I'm ready to send out sample.
Unbelievable. What kind? Where do you get
whoever wants to get the sample? I'm so down. I want everybody to try this stuff.
That is amazing. Well, you got a customer in me, buddy, because I show up here every day with a full cup of coffee ready to go. So morning and evening. So I would love to. And then the other thing I'd love to do.
Shoot me an email. gsolutions.tv.
G-Solutions. You know what? I don't have a pen with me. If you could send me a note, either you can't send one, I don't think, to this, but my email is really easy. It's just mp@markpires.com. And then also I could send you, if you did want to, I could send you my address too. The other thing I was thinking is I want to start helping people like you and other small businesses like the BeatSeat, my invention, to create awareness. You know, my new thing is, and as someone who owns drums, have you seen the BeatSeat yet? Have you seen like what it can do?
Oh my gosh, I have not.
Oh, dude. Okay, so basically anything you're hearing me play, I'm sitting on that drum. This is basically it right here. That's my feet. You could make it sound like a drum kit with your feet, but it's the only drum you could sit completely upright and play with your hands and feet at the same time. So the other thing that's pretty cool for drummers, because you sound like you play percussion more than guitar, is it has unlimited tones. So wherever you hit it sounds different. And so you've got like tom-toms, you've got like, it to me, and I'm not trained percussionist, I'm just a BeatSeat player, it sounds like a 7 to 10 piece drum kit. And there's nothing, no pedals. It's just a box. But it's the shape of my box. It's the design of the box. I spoke to an engineer and he goes, what you did is you created an auditorium for your percussion. So wherever you hit, it's providing different tone frequency range. And so the bigger thing is we've learned it's a sensory therapy drum for those with autism. So now, like you, with trying to see if you can create awareness about coffee, which I think we should try to help you do here, is I have to find everybody with autism on planet Earth and let them know about the BeatSeat. Because I saw a child who was 6 years old transform right in front of my eyes. My wife and I went in and we brought a BeatSeat, And the nurses from the hospital, from St. Vincent's Hospital, said, look, we have this kid who doesn't connect to anything. He's like 6. He never smiles. He's in his weird state. And we'll put him on and see what he does. So I brought the BeatSeat. They put him in. They had this, what's kind of cool about the BeatSeat. They have this, it's like a wheelchair, but it's not, where you could sit in it and stay upright, but there's room in the middle. So the BeatSeat goes right in the middle there. So they were able to kind of sit this kid up, and he still had access to the BeatSeat. He's hitting it with his hands. And before you know it, they showed him how to do it. His face changed. He smiles from ear to ear. And I kind of passed my wife as I looked up at her, and the nurses are crying. And I'm like, what is going on? They said, you don't understand. This kid has never connected to anything. We've tried every tool we have. And in that moment, I was like, forget musicians. This is not for musicians. This is for people with a special need. It's sensory therapy. And then this whole concept of everywhere you hit it sounds different. That means everywhere you hit it feels different. And for someone with a sensory issue, for autism, this is the most powerful drum there is. And so now I'm like, awareness, making phone calls. I think what I'm going to do tomorrow morning is it will be just cold calling special needs and autism centers to talk about the BeatSeat. I think that would be a pretty cool episode, just to see. And most people have been very receptive to it when they hear that I have a patented product that could change a child's life or a young adult's or an adult's life. So I think as far as it goes,
you're a modern day centurion. For Christ.
You know what?
Maybe we can call it censurian.
Censurian, yeah, censored like a mofo. That's hilarious. No, but I think you're right. I feel like you got to put the armor on.
One.
You got to put the armor on for God.
I want one of these drums, and I have a nephew with autism.
Do you really? So the cool thing
He's
about
living on
this,
a farm.
you know what's cool about that one, and it's not that they would do this, but your nephew, if it's his mother or his father who try to connect with him, we build. They're called, that's the sensory therapy drum for kids. So we have a junior model. The adult model, if it's someone who's buying it for their child like that, they can order an adult model, and they're designed the same way where they're color coded. You can see this on the BeatSeat website. And so the center panel's red, the front panel's yellow, the side panel's blue, other side panel's green, the top is orange, that type of vibe. And so you could use it as a teaching tool if you can start to connect with a child, and you could say, all right, Tommy, play the red panel. And now he's referring to colors. This is another thing. I sold one to someone recently who has a child with autism. And I told him that concept. He goes, yeah, but even better. I could say to Tommy, hey, Tommy, what's your favorite color? And Tommy could hit the red panel. Tommy could hit the blue panel if it's his favorite color. And I was like, whoa. And so these little ways to connect with your child become possible with a drum that has 6 different colored panels, and you could use it as a teaching tool as well as the most powerful drum and frequency response percussion drum there is. So I want you to look at it some more. Check out BeatSeat.rocks. I will rock out on it tonight. I'm going to write some more songs. That's what we do, Gianluca, And if you and your wife want to come in the chat, it's always filled with lots of awesome people, and I'm glad to meet another awesome person in you. And like I said, let's get more of the G Solutions conversation going. If we can do a piece on you guys. And I appreciate if you do send some coffee to Joanne. I may steal it from her because she just wheezes, and I'll drink the hell out of it. And then I'd be promoting you too about
looking forward to tuning in tonight.
My man. Hey, thanks so much for calling, Gianluca. I appreciate you, buddy. Have an awesome day, okay?
You too, brother.
All right, brother. Talk to you soon, okay? Take care. Bye-bye. Guys, 57 minutes. Uh-oh. There goes my camera. 57-minute phone call with Gianluca. That was an awesome conversation, too. I'm actually more excited about the fact that he's roasting coffee than I am about the Essians. I'm pumped about the Essians thing. I'm like, yeah, we're going to go do a story on the Essians. And Jesus, is he part of the Essians or not? And wait a second, you make your own coffee? I love coffee. Oh, that was so cool. So I appreciate that call in. And I want you guys to take advantage of this. I talked to Joanna a few weeks back about having her on maybe for a Zoom, and we could talk about any topics at all. Love to see if we could have a chat. But same type of thing. If you are someone who frequents the show and you have something you want to say or something you want to ask, that phone number is there for you. And tomorrow morning, see if you could call. Could theoretically even do it during the night shows. Like I don't want it to be off limits. I want to be open and available for you guys to have conversations when we're on the air. So, new feature of the show unlocked. Live calls, And this is the concept here, right? You take some information or you take a curiosity and then you try to see if you could answer that curiosity or provide some information for that curiosity. So I will be looking into the Essenes. I will be looking into the Dead Sea Scrolls, and we will be continuing chasing history. If you guys haven't seen the newest episode or the first episode about Gilgamesh, it is up on the channel right now. I'll give you the link real quick. And then I will be working on another one for you, probably about the Essenes or the Dead Sea Scrolls. Man, we have so much stuff to talk about. So much stuff to talk about here. Where is it? That D.B. Cooper episode was pretty fun the other day. I was thinking about it. With this new green screen concept where I can make news stories, I could take any of these old stories I've already done and just drop them. So I may do that. It takes a lot of time to make those, but still, it's... I like it with the video moving in the background. Here is the episode. It's called Chasing History, Epic Tale of Gilgamesh, King of Sumer. I don't know if that's a good title or not. Not sure. I should start requesting better titles from you guys so we can see if we get more views. We'll buy coffee from John Lucia. Oh my goodness. Now I get it. Now it's making sense to me. So John Luca's wife is Lucy? If that's the case, it makes perfect sense now. And Lucy's awesome. She's the one who said we got to get you on Roseanne. And I don't know if you're tuning in at all, Lucy, but I did call. I left a message for Roseanne Barr, and it was a doozy. I was calling and I'm thinking it's ringing right now. If I go in and I'm like, hey, Roseanne, it's Mark Pires, host of the longest running show on the planet. She'd be like, who's this idiot? Never heard of him. So I took a different approach. I go, Roseanne, it's your president, Donald J. Trump. I'm winning big league. I'm here with Melania. No, Roseanne, I'm just kidding. My name's Mark Pires. So I tried to start with a little lead in with Trumper because I know she likes the Trumper, but I haven't heard back from her. So I don't even know if it was really her number, to be honest. I just left. Trish found it. I called it. And I'd really like to. I also, just so you guys know, and I don't know if it'll ever come to fruition, probably not. I sent a note to Joe Rogan's email and just said, hey, I think I'm the first comedian that was canceled. They talk about people trying to cancel people, but I think I was the first one that was actually canceled. And I just have kept showing up. But here's the reason. I sent the Donald Trump show. And I haven't heard back. That was the same time. I sent that like a couple minutes after I did the Roseanne one. I was just like, you know what the hell? I got nothing to lose here. And again, just throwing this out there, if anybody out there is a mod on any other shows, 2024 is the year I want to be on every show. I want to be on anybody and everybody's show. And I want to create awareness by allowing those people who are watching those other shows to know we exist here. And I'm not going to compete with any other show. There's nothing else like this show. That's not a cockiness thing. I'm just certain there's no other guy on earth who's shown up for 5 years and who lives in the moment and invented the only drum in the world for guitar players. I have a patent for it, so I'm certain there's no other show on earth like this. And if we can at least get those people to know that 9 a.m., 9 or 10 p.m. every night, there's a live show of creation that is intended to lift you up 10 levels, not just one, then that's all I think I could do. That's me creating awareness for this brand, for the Mark and Spire show. BeatSeat, you can start seeing a lot of crazy stuff from the BeatSeat. I'm going to start doing the origin story. You can see a little bit more about that. Also, I'm working on right now, how did I acquire my 1775 Bible? That'll be another piece of content I'll get out. And we have hundreds of songs I still have to get through, but I'm all alone. So out there, if there's an editor who likes what I do and they want to help and start helping me create some of this content I create on a daily basis into short form, reach out to me, mp@markpires.com, and let's see if we can blow this out of the water this year by being on everywhere and everywhere possible. So keep that in mind. Anybody out there who wants to have a guest, I'll do whatever. Oh, we're here to talk. Fine. We're here to laugh. Okay. What impression do you want to hear? We are into music. Okay. Let's write a piece of music. We like to be inspired. Let's roll. So whatever the format is, whatever you need me to do, I'm ready to perform. I'm ready to go and put on the best show possible for that person. So keep that in mind. Let them know if they start asking about guests or something like that. And don't be afraid to offer it to somebody because I wouldn't think about it. I have to come out here to put on a show every day. But if someone comes into the chat and they're like, hey, you know what? Oh, thank you so much. Coffee is on its way. Thank you so much. If someone is in the chat and feeling the vibe, that's all you could ask for, you know? Look at this. Joanna's in there speaking Russian. I was going to go with the Russian response, but I just didn't really feel like going there today. Good. Yes, it's very good. You could do a Putin, maybe. A Putin in the work. When Vladimir Putin decided to put in the work, you know, to be the leader of Russia, he had to murder a few people, you know. That's what you do when you're Putin in the work. Oh, goodness. So, guys, you're awesome. We'll see you later on. Jeez, this is a long show. But that's what happens when you have Gianluca call in and we start talking about all kinds of awesome topics. The Bible, Yahshua, the origin story of humans. All this stuff is going to be explored more on Chasing History, our newest series. We have so many series here, so don't get confused. Backass, you rock, buddy. Yeah. More giving your tank than most. Yeah, I think you're right. Thank you, buddy. You know what? But it's people like Backass and Gianluca and his wife who and I can't read that. Is it Onecker? I wish I... Joanne, how do we say that in English? Joanna? I need assistance. Can you translate? Virginia, you rock. Let me say goodnight to you if you guys are... Good night. Again, I was so used to doing that late show until recently. Did I give you the link yet? This is the Gilgamesh story. I cleaned it up a little for the social media platforms, but that's episode 1 of what will be a new series called Chasing History. The idea is 5 to 10 minutes most, and the full scope of these stories while you have a visualization going on behind you, video representation of the story. And you see a lot of this stuff online, but this is my own version because I'm reading these stories instead of just telling you the story. I think it's a little bit more in depth. Sometimes you may be like, I didn't need to know that, but I'm still going to read it for you. I want you to know the full scope of the stories with a visual background. So that's the concept. And I hope I will see you for show number 2 later. Let me see who's here with me. Okay, so I got some response here from my poll for the day. If you can immediately, would you move to a blue zone? And 29% said yes, without a question. 71% said, no way, I don't want to live to 100. So we got that going for us right now. All right, so let me get this. Interesting stuff, guys. Interesting stuff. So, wait, I was about to say bye to everybody, and then I missed the link. There we go. Backass words, Joanna Maynard, Kill It and Grill It, Virginia, and, of course, Anecker, that's how I read Russian, right? Gianluca, my brother, thank you for calling in. I will see you guys later on. Until then, Joanne, keep the weeds down. This is the longest running daily variety show of hope, the Mark and Spire Show. I'll see you later. You got to go away, yeah. Alisa, there we go. Alessia, is it Alessia? I think I said that better the second time. Thank you guys. Have a great day.